Hi, it's Gadget UK here again. As you can see, we're looking at pretty ancient precursor to consoles here, a Soundic video game play with colour / black and white television set. Wow, that must have been like the height of excitement back in the day. So we've got some switches here for the left scoring, the right scoring. It looks like scoring's manual. That shows you how primitive this is. Serve button, some buttons here, that switches that just kind of remind me of the Atari 2600. So bat size, serve speed, angle, power. So this is just like you know, a bat and ball thing, tennis. You know, well, it looks like there's a few different things here: hockey, squash, handball, tennis. Yeah, basically, it's up to you to interpret the, you know, those games. Basically, probably very similar game modes and things. I think. Do these come out? Yeah, these come out, I think, on a wire. So before I do anything, I'm going to tear this apart. You can see it's got the RF lead built into the back here. Got a socket that says 9V DC. I'm not sure about polarity, so we'll check that while we're there as well. Looks like this also takes batteries, strangely enough. So we can get that battery puller off. Yeah, looks like C cells, 6 C cells in there. That's amazing. Anyway, so we'll get these 4 screws out, I think. Get the back off, check the polarity, have a look at the board, see what's in there. Yeah, so just those 4 screws holding the lid on, you can see, hopefully there, upside down, the Magnavox company. So it's interesting, this is a Magnavox product. I think, didn't they come out with the Odyssey or something similar to that? Anyway, yeah, not much going on. Modulator here by the looks of things. Crystal, some sort of, yeah, I think you've got a variable capacitor adjustment there. What's that? Is that some sort of video cover or something? I'm not sure. It's a Motorola chip by the looks of things. You can see this, an MC, what is it, a 140598? I don't know, I can't see what that is. Yeah, so, and we've got an AY chip on here, AY-3-8500. I'm guessing that must be processor or something, I don't know. I always assumed the AY chips were usually nearly always sound. Don't know. Got a little chip there as well. Bloody hard to see what that is. Yeah, there's not much going on at all. Transformer there. Where's the power coming? Yeah, so your power comes in here. You've got a diode, is that for reverse protection or something? I'm not sure. Just there. Is that a crystal? God, that's weird. The size of it. Why is it there like that? Yeah, I think that's a crystal. It's just really weirdly positioned. Look at this little ribbon here. See, these wires are like nearly, sorry. See, there's a nearly touching as well. So that needs some attention, most certainly. Look, look at these wires here, just joining the various tracks up and stuff. They're all over the bloody place. I can't believe the manufacture of that. And is it the cardboard? Yeah, actual cardboard used in the manufacture of this. Not sure where that goes, but we'll keep that. I'll put that back in a minute. Yeah, you can see the wires just sort of streaming to the inside of the case here. It's bizarre. I think they probably normally sit actually inside that, so that explains that. And I think this card's probably taped down here somewhere. It looks like there's bits of tape for something. I don't know. Pretty interesting. I think I might just take this board off. I'm not sure where. There's a couple of screws. There's a screw there. There's a screw over here. Might be another one or two. I'm guessing it's probably held. Well, it will be by the things on the front. You know, the plastic, you know, connectors next to the switches. They're going to need clipping off. There's another screw there I've just spotted. So yeah, I'll get those out. I'll have a look at the underneath of the board there. I need to do some measurements and things around here to determine which way the polarity goes as well, which it's not going to be as easy as I thought, to be honest, because I don't see a voltage regulator anywhere, which is interesting. I'm guessing I don't know, there's a couple of little transistors and things. There's something down there, there's one down here. There must be something somewhere that's stepping the voltage down. or something, I don't know. It does say 9 volts input, which I think is a bit unusual really. Wouldn't expect 9 volts to be going straight into one of these chips. Anyway, right, I'll take the screws out, we'll have a look at the board. So here we go. Torn down as much as I can get it really. In order to get the, you've got to bend that little interconnect there between the two, as you can see. It just sort of hangs over. Yeah, I wouldn't want to do that too much, or it's probably going to break. The wires will break. It's an awful design because they're not designed to be separated, and whilst I've done all this, undone the 6 screws sort of holding this plastic piece on, it's still, and it goes out from the other side. As you can see, I can push it down. That's not going to help. It's not going to help me get the board out unless I take the board out through the front. And then of course you'd have to disconnect desolder your battery terminals there and stuff. So I really don't want to do that. But it is worth having a look at this while I'm here, just to see if I can see any dry joints. Perhaps I might just resolder the ones on this back of this switch here, give it a bit of a clean up, just see if I can see any other solder joints. It's got a rogue bit of solder there, just like a lump of it just floating around on there. So I'll clean that off. Yeah, deal with any dry joints. Can't really see any. You've got the odd thing there that look, they're sort of a questionable colour, but they're not dry or cracked or anything. They just don't look right to me. They look a bit odd. So regards polarity, I'm not really sure. Not really sure which way to go with this. We've got a cap there, so I think what props do is I'll check polarity between the positive contacts on these caps, just to see whether they've got connectivity to one of the power input pins, which I would probably assume. Well, I would assume we probably will do. One of them's going to be like some sort of smoothing cap or something on there, probably, and that's going to helpfully identify which one's the positive. There is a diode there. I'll see it. Look, see how that's wired with regards to those connections as well, because it may well be it's a reverse polarity protection. It could be that the power's gone through that diode and it's dropping the voltage a tiny bit. No idea. Yeah, not much to say about this really. It's awful. It really is awful, but it is a piece of video gaming history. So look at the corrosion on that crystal up there. It's pretty awful. Yeah, the main thing is just clean it all up, like I say, try and get it working if I can. Okay, well, a couple of things. It looks like it's the same type of connector that the Atari 2600 uses. It looks like a 3.5mm mono jack. As you can see, that fits okay. And it looks like that anyway from the inside, but the obvious thing here that I hadn't thought of before is because this has got batteries, a battery compartment, you can work out the polarity based on the battery bay there. Now I don't know whether on here it's going to show. Yes, it does. You can see it shows which way the batteries go, because you can easily jump to conclusions and assume that the negative side goes on the springs, because that's usually the case. But sometimes, well, probably on rare occasions, that might not be accurate. That might not be right. You might find that round the other way. I can't think of an example where that would be the case, but it's never a good idea just to assume. It's always worth just checking this, the back versus the thing there. So it goes that way, which means our positives are making contact up here on the black, which is not what you'd expect. So it looks like your negative's the orange and the black is the positive, and then it's just routed. This plate here is just joining the batteries up in series. So I can do some connectivity checks now from the jack, and I'll use one of these. These are really useful. I like these because you can pull the pins off there and you can make measurements on them really easily. So I can stick that in the back there, put my meter on continuity. In fact, before I do that, I'll work out which one's the centre, the tip. Was it tip positive, tip negative? So I'll work out which one's the tip, put it in, do continuity between there and the battery compartments, in order to work out which way around to put that. So I'll just do that now. So what is interesting here is the left pin on the jack is the tip, and the tip does not connect to the battery compartment at all. Now I've switched it on just to make sure I've got connectivity in case it's going straight through the switch, but yeah, nothing. Now if I check the centre tip to that orange wire, that's okay, which corresponds to there, and then I'm guessing, well, it's got to be, then the negative one's got to go to wherever the black is, so presumably on the top, that top tab there. Yeah, it has. Not sure why we've got three wires on here. Must be a stereo jack. It does say 9 volts, so there's only 9 volts coming in. That's a bit mysterious. Let's just try and pull it out a bit. Unless it's switched. Yeah, see, so now to the positive, we've got a connection on the tip. Very interesting. So it would suggest that that's a stereo jack. Be careful about how I connect this up, I think. Right, I made a bit of a sense out of this connector now. The positive on the battery terminal, well, you can see this. If I measure connectivity, obviously this black wire, it goes to there. Now, when the DC jack's not plugged in at the moment, when the DC jack's not plugged in, it connects that to the orange wire at the bottom, not the orange wire at the top. So it's just going through there. So the +5, not +5, but +9, the 9 volts DC is coming into that pin there on the board. As soon as you put the connector in, you'll see it's isolated the battery compartment from the power line, which means, I forget which one it is now. Yeah, one of your pins on your DC jack is coming into there, that's correct. And then the other one, hopefully, yeah, is your negative. So we do have 2 connections coming from there, as expected. So we'll just work out, I think it's, let's just work out which one's positive. If the battery's, that's positive, that goes there, yeah, so it's isolated from that. That's definitely the plus. The plus in this case is that top pin there. And if you check on here, it must be tip positive, I think. Yeah, it is. So it's tip positive. So I'll get 9 volts connected to that on tip positive. Connect my RF up and we'll see what's happening. I'm going to leave it like this for the moment, floating around. It's, as long as there's nothing short anywhere, which it won't be if I hold it at the right angle. You can see there's some corrosion on this that's going to need cleaning up, so yeah, I'll need to do that. That's looking pretty messy. So here we go. Got 9 volts. It will work with 7 volts. I had 2 different power supplies. The first one was it was making a beeping noise. I'll just see if I can recreate it now. I don't know whether I'm going to be able to get it to do the same thing. Can you hear that? We've got switches and things that need cleaning up, because you'll notice if I reset it. Hang on. I think you've got a mess. There you go. Can you hear that? It's fine, and on the screen you'll find that the hit the serve button, you might not see it. You see the ball go flying past then? So it is working. Not sure if the controls are working. Yeah, again the controls need cleaning up. The pots and stuff are really dirty on that, hence why it's just jumping all over the place. The other player's not working, I don't think, unless it's set to 1 player. I'm not sure. Might be the wire, might be the pot, not sure. So yeah, I'll just start by, I guess, you know, taking. I will disconnect the little switchboard from inside here, and we're going to clean up all the switches and stuff. And then I'll disconnect the controls. I think we'll have a look inside here and see if we can clean these up, test the continuity on the wires. So there's the inside of the switch assembly. So I'll just clean these up, get some cotton buds and some isopropyl on them, and then just inspect them closely. You can see these 2 plastic switches, they came to pieces here, and there's a ball bearing in each one and a tiny spring. So it's going to be interesting trying to reassemble that. I think they were the sliders that went in here actually. But yeah, it should be alright. I'll just have to be careful about how I do that. Right, a little bit of isoprop was not enough. I don't think you can see this. I'll get as close as I can. It's probably about as good as it's going to get, I think, there. Yeah, you can see that's the one I've done. Can you see how much cleaner that one is compared to that? Contacts are black, whereas this one, let's say, is nice and clean. The other thing I'm going to do is just very carefully bend these upwards a little bit, so that you know, you can see the centre piece there that sits on the plastic, just sort of almost like that a little bit, just so that when it's back on the fitting there, it will make a better connection with the board, and then I'll lubricate the board with some WD-40 or something, the traces there. You get good connectivity, you know, with that. It's not going to be a problem, but it's just in the interest of keeping these clean and making sure that the things slide around okay. You've also got the opportunity at this point to clean these little plastic. You can see these little clear sort of things that go around the switches as well, and the switches themselves. So I'm just going to do that, clean all of these up, clean all the contacts up, bend them all back into position, clean the PCB, oil the PCB edges where this slides up and down, and then just reassemble this whole assembly, I think. So I've cleaned all my contacts and my switches and things up. Just need to clean this up now, the little slots and things before I put these back in. What's amazing about this is this has come up really clean. You can see there's a couple of marks and things here, little light scratches. Might try and clean those up later with a PVC polish, but this was just really faded and dull. I was trying to find the thing if I can show you. See all that there? Look how black it was. It was just absolutely black, covered in dirt. So all this white text, it's come out really clearly. Yeah, pleased with that. Anyway, I'll get the switches and things back in and we'll get it back on the PCB. So the PCB, I'm not even going to oil this. These are just basically, just pads for the switches. Just make or break contacts. And you can see we've got two of those little blister type buttons there, and they're okay, so those don't need replacing. Solder points look a bit dirty there, but they're okay. There's good connections, so I can just mount that little, the plastic part on there with the switches themselves on there, screw it back on. So these little slide switches here are nothing more than manual slide switches. There is no switching, no electronic components. This just a little plate goes over there and that's it. And I just thought I'd cover this in case you ever get into the scenario where you're wondering how these got back together regards to the spring and the ball bearing. And the spring just goes in that little crevice there, that little hole, and then the ball bearing presses into it. You've got to be careful because you might fire this out if you're not careful, and I can imagine you'll lose it and fly across the other side of the room. But and then you mount it in such a way that the ball bearing makes contact with the ridged edge there, so that's it. You can see that one's already in there now. So as you can see, everything I've done here is just to remove the back off one of these controllers, just those two screws, and then the back just comes off. The little knobs just pull straight off the front there, and as you can see, it's just a potentiometer. Looks like 1 meg, is it? I think it says 1 meg ohm on there, so you could probably swap that out, but in this case I'm just going to just get some WD-40 in there and give it a clean up. So you can see that now. Before it was like jumping around like that all over the place, whereas now as you move the little knob, the back moves. I've not got that channel tuning right, I don't think, which is why there's big lines and things going to the right hand side there. But that's working, and it's a colour. I didn't expect it to be colour. Yellow bat, blue bat, green text by the looks of things. Let's just try a different game mode. Yeah, got a few different ones, doubles and stuff there. If I try the other controller, let's just see what that one's doing. See if that one's jumping around. Yeah, can you see that one's flickering? I'll show you, so I can get this on the thing at the same time here, so you can see the two. But let's just move it, see the blue bat's going all over the bloody place. That's exactly what the other one was doing. So after I've cleaned that up, hopefully you should see the same sort of difference. There we go, I'll show you the blue one now, if I can find it. There you go. See, so the blue bat now works perfectly okay. That's the way it's going through the bat, I think. Let's try and reset. I wonder if it's yellow's got to hit it first, maybe. Let's try that. Yeah. Looks like you take turns. So something else I'm going to do here is a preventative measure. Is the backs of these plastic dials, including this one, is stick a piece of cable tie around it. They're not split at the moment, but these do split, and the plastic doesn't age well in these things. So over time, ultimately these will split. But if you put a cable tie around them, you potentially extend the life and stop the possibility of that happening. Well worth doing. So I'm going to do that now. So there, as you can see, there's nothing much to it other than just putting that cable tie around there, and that just helps support that if if it ever gets too much pressure put on it in future. And they are common. It's common for those to break. I'm sure you've seen them before. It's a bit like printer knobs; they broke the same way. But just putting a cable tie around there as a preventative caution, preventative measure, can make all the difference, really. So hopefully you can see I've cleaned the transducer up there, got all the corrosion off it, just wiped it down with a bit of WD, just to stop that corroding again. Yeah, it's looking pretty clean. The only thing that's annoying with this is the video quality is just not very good at all. I might try recapping this, I'm not sure. I'll certainly get my camp meter out in a minute and just check these 3 caps on here, the electrolytics, just to see if they're okay. If they're alright, I'll just leave them and just assume it's the crappy RF, but I'll check them anyway. So I've come up to the last few bits here. Everything's tidy and cleaned up and all the rest of it, and I need to clean the outside of the case. There's the final step. But if you're wondering where this piece of cardboard went, as I was, because it just sort of fell out when it came apart, it's like that. It's used to divide a controller wire bay from the inside of the battery compartment there, just with a bit of card. I suspect actually it goes around that way, so that the battery bay is all white on the inside. That at least would seem more logical to me, but I don't know. I don't think that's the case actually, because it doesn't fit snugly that way around. I think it probably went that way like that, and obviously that little wire's got to go to that little gap there, so it just needs taping down on the 2 sides there. That's what you can see where there's been a bit of tape, and over the decades that's come off. There we go, all reassembled, looking really clean. I did a bit of probing around on the scope trying to find a composite signal on the modulator, but it's largely shielded off the second part, well, the main part of the modulator there. It makes it very difficult. I don't want to remove that video board there, and to remove the shielding on the modulator it's going to be a lot of effort. But one thing I did do is I looked at the pinouts of that AY chip. I forget the model number now. Is it AY-8-8500 or something? I can't remember. -3-8500, something like that. And it's a common one used in all of these Pong type systems. It's a standard sort of chip, and there looks to be composite video out for the different aspects of the display there. So the left player, the right player, the scores, the playfield, I think. So what you can do is merge them together, and there's a separate sync pin as well, which I'll probably do a subsequent video on this, because I'm going to order a couple of components, transistor, I think, and see if I can amplify the video signal and then merge the sync signal and get a composite out. Not sure where I would do it. I don't really want to damage the case, you know, just fit some sort of RCA jack, phono jack or something, but I thought perhaps I could use that hole there. There's a hole for something, I don't know, just trail a little wire out, just for a short fly lead with a socket on it, and just add composite, because that would be really cool. But if I show you this now, how this is working, reset, you can see it's not so bad. It's pretty fuzzy, but you know, it's all things considered, I guess it's not bad, but it'll look a lot better with composite. Anyway, thanks for watching, I'll see you soon.